The rain tapped softly against my window. Each drop sounded sharper than the last. I sat alone in my small apartment, surrounded by half-packed boxes. I was moving out in the morning. My phone buzzed with a new message from my friend, Daniel. He lived across the hall. He was the kind of neighbor who laughed loudly, cooked strange midnight meals, and always borrowed my charger. But today, the hallway felt quieter. Strangely quieter. I stepped outside to ask if he needed help with anything. His door was slightly open. A thin slice of darkness leaked from the gap. No light, no sound. I knocked gently. No answer. The silence felt heavy, almost like a presence. I pushed the door wider. The air inside was cold. Colder than the hallway. There was a faint smell of something metallic. Something unsettling. The living room looked untouched. The TV remote rested on the couch. A mug sat on the table, still half full of coffee. Everything looked frozen in time. I called out his name. No response. Then my eyes moved to the floor near the kitchen doorway. A shoe. Only one. And next to it, something that looked like the handle of his phone. My heartbeat picked up. I took a step forward. Then another. My foot hit something soft. I looked down and froze. Daniel lay on the floor. His eyes were closed. His skin looked pale and still. Too still. I felt a strange ringing in my ears. A numbness spread through my hands. I stumbled backward and reached for my own phone. Before I could dial anyone, a sharp sound cut through the silence. A ringtone. Daniel's phone. The phone that was still in his pocket. The phone that should have been silent. It rang with a bright, cheerful tune that felt completely wrong in that cold room. The sound echoed off the walls like it did not belong there. I stared at the glowing screen in his pocket. His body did not move. His chest did not rise. Yet the phone continued to ring. I reached for it with trembling fingers. But as soon as I touched the fabric of his jacket, the ringtone stopped. Instantly. The silence that followed was much louder. Too loud. Then the phone lit up again. This time without ringing. A notification appeared on the screen. My breath caught. Because the message was written in his name. Sent from his number. And it was addressed to me. 4 short words. Words that made the room feel even colder. I am not alone here. My breath tightened inside my chest as I stared at the message. The letters looked too sharp on the screen, almost carved into the glowing panel. My fingers trembled while holding the phone, and the air around me felt suddenly heavier. The room seemed to shrink, pulling me closer to the cold floor where Daniel still lay motionless. I slowly stood up, fighting the urge to run out of the apartment. My knees felt weak. Every sound around me seemed amplified. The hum of the refrigerator. The soft tick of a wall clock. The faint buzz of the overhead lights. All of it blended into a strange, uneasy rhythm that made the message feel even more threatening. I glanced toward the hallway that led to Daniel's bedroom. The door was slightly open, just like the front door had been. A small sliver of darkness spilled into the living room. The shadow did not move, but it felt as if it was watching me. I told myself that someone must have sent the message as a cruel joke. Maybe his phone had been hacked. Maybe I was imagining it. But deep down, the cold weight in my stomach told me that something was wrong. Very wrong. I crouched beside Daniel again, carefully avoiding his still face. I reached for his wrist, hoping for even the faintest pulse. My fingers touched his skin. It was cold. Not the kind of cold that comes from a chilly room. It was the kind of cold that sinks deep into the body, the kind that does not leave. I slowly pulled my hand away. My throat felt tight. Suddenly, the phone vibrated again. Not a call. Another message. This time it appeared before I even lifted the screen. Do not look behind you. My body locked in place. The hairs on the back of my neck rose instantly. My breath slowed. For a moment, I could not even blink. The apartment was silent again. Yet I could feel something. A presence. Standing close. Too close. A cold breeze brushed the side of my face, even though the windows were closed. My eyes remained fixed on the phone screen, afraid to turn around. The silence behind me felt thick, like the air was holding its breath. I forced myself to move. Just a little. I shifted my weight from one foot to the other. The floorboard creaked softly, breaking the silence. The sound echoed through the room like a warning. With every second, the pressure behind me grew. It felt as if someone was leaning in slowly. Closer, closer, close enough to feel the cold of a breath that did not belong to any living person. My heart hammered against my ribs. My palms grew damp with sweat. The urge to run clawed at my mind, but my legs refused to listen. I felt trapped inside my own body. Then, from behind me, I heard a small sound. A whisper, very faint, very slow, almost careful. Do not turn around. The voice did not sound like Daniel. It did not sound like anyone human. It carried a hollow tone, like something spoken from deep inside a dark underground tunnel. My vision blurred for a moment. I gripped the edge of the couch to steady myself. The room seemed to tilt slightly, as if the walls themselves were shifting. Another vibration shook the phone. A third message appeared. You brought it with you. My mind raced. What did that mean? I had brought nothing except my phone, my keys, and a small box from my apartment. Nothing unusual. Nothing alive. I tried to swallow, but my throat felt dry. The presence behind me loomed closer. It felt as if a cold hand hovered just inches from my shoulder. The air pressed against my back with a weight that made it hard to move. Finally, with all the strength I could gather, I turned my head just a little. Not fully, only enough to glance out of the corner of my eye. What I saw made my breath stop. A shape stood behind me. Not human, not solid, a shadow shaped like a person, but stretching too tall, with arms that seemed too long. Its edges flickered like smoke caught in slow motion. There were no eyes, yet I felt it staring directly into me. My body shook violently. I pushed myself away from it, stumbling toward the door. But as I reached the hallway, Daniel's phone vibrated again. The shadow remained still, completely still, as if waiting. The screen lit up with a fourth message. This one was longer. The letters appeared one by one, slowly. You should not have opened his door. The hallway grew darker. The lights flickered. The cold air thickened, twisting around my legs like invisible hands. And then, from the direction of Daniel's bedroom, I heard a soft sound. A slow shift, a dragging, like feet sliding across the floor. Something was moving inside the darkness. And it was coming closer. The dragging sound grew louder as I backed into the hallway. The darkness from Daniel's bedroom seemed to stretch across the floor like a living shadow. My breath shook with each inhale, and the cold air felt sharp inside my lungs. The shadowy shape behind me remained still for a moment, almost as if it waited for the next move. The lights flickered again, and for a brief second the entire apartment flashed bright white. When the light returned to normal, the bedroom doorway was filled with a tall, thin silhouette. Its body looked stretched, as if it had been pulled upward by invisible strings. The head tilted slowly to one side, and the faint sound of bones shifting filled the hallway. My heartbeat thundered inside my chest. I gripped the wall for balance as the shape stepped forward. The floor creaked beneath its weightless form. My legs felt weak, but I forced myself to keep moving backward toward the open front door. Daniel's phone vibrated in my hand again. The final message appeared with a soft glow. You can leave, but it will follow. I stared at the message as the shape moved another step closer. Its shadow stretched across the floor, curling around my shoes like dark smoke. The cold deepened, numbing my fingers and the sides of my face. Then, from somewhere inside the apartment, a second voice spoke. This one sounded familiar. It sounded like Daniel. Go now. The whisper carried a heavy sadness, almost like a warning offered with the last of his strength. I did not question it. I turned and ran through the doorway, stumbling into the hallway. The moment I crossed the threshold, the air changed. The coldness released its grip. The weight on my chest eased. The lights in the hallway shone steadily without flickering. Behind me, Daniel's door slammed shut with a single violent crack. The echo traveled down the hallway and faded into silence. I stood frozen, staring at the closed door. For a long moment, nothing moved. No shadows leaked from under the frame. No sounds came from inside. Slowly, I looked down at Daniel's phone still clutched in my hand. The screen had gone dark. I pressed the power button, but it did not light up again. It felt heavy, as if drained of all life. I placed the phone gently on the floor outside his door. My hands trembled as I stepped away from it. As I reached my own apartment, the hallway lights flickered one more time. Just once. A soft reminder that something still watched from the other side of that closed door. I packed my final box with shaking hands and left the building before sunrise. The sky was a pale gray as I walked away, and the morning air felt warm compared to the cold that had followed me. I did not look back at the apartment. I did not want to see the door open again. I did not want to see what might stand behind it. Even now, in a new place, far from that quiet hallway, I sometimes wake in the night with the memory of that cold breath on my neck. In the darkness, I listen closely. I wait. I hope nothing follows. But every once in a while, my phone lights up without ringing. A single message appears on the screen. I am not alone here. And the room grows just a little colder.